from WBBZ-TV Sports. It's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ. My name is Paul Peck with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky, along with Janelle Sabin. We begin our month-long stay here in Amherst at Manor Lanes 2. So, Sue, it's Manor Lanes 2, the sequel, and that seems appropriate because the guy coming back for our first match of the day has been our most dominant bowler on this show. Tyler Molina keeps adding to his list of blockbusters. Got a chance to set some records today.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a great bowler. He's got the best mental game. He's oblivious to everything else that's going on around him, and he focuses. Doesn't matter who he's bowling, although he has some good competition today.
Yeah, he comes in on a 6-game winning streak. If he wins his first match here today, he'll set a new record for the longest win streak and set a new mark for the most wins. So the Tyler Molina fan club is ever growing, isn't it, Janelle?
It definitely is. We see more and more people coming out to support him. So let's see if he can keep that streak alive.
So Tyler Molina has been dominant so far. Can he be our most dominant Beat the Champ bowler? It is time to find out. So let's get rolling. It's our first trip back here to Manor Lanes 2 since May of last year, and our first match to get things started is this gentleman, Mike D'Amico, taking on the machine that is Tyler Molina, as we talked about, and we'll talk a lot more about Tyler's amazing accomplishments on the streak that he's on right now. But for Mike D'Amico making his Beat the Champ debut, 35-year-old from Silver Creek, and here we go from Manor Lanes 2. It is Beat the Champ, and Mike D'Amico with a terrific start right out of the box.
Yeah, no nerves for Mike. That was absolutely perfect shot, just how he wanted to throw it out of the gate, put a little pressure on Tyler early. He shot 785 to qualify here, so
including a 299 in the last match, and and qualifying was really tight, so he needed all those 299 pins, didn't he?
Yeah, but it gives you some confidence to know that you can shoot some big scores in the house you're bowling in. So that's the start he wanted.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. You know, again, first-time bowlers here on Beat the Champ have generally struggled, and every-time bowlers, when they go up against this guy, have usually struggled. So here we go. Hottest bowler in Western New York is already getting the good breaks there right on the first throw. It's a strike for Tyler Molina.
It's one of the things he mentioned is that he likes the way the pins fly here, and that's a perfect example, taking out the 7-pin the way it did.
So again, as we reiterated in the Open, there's just no doubting how good Tyler Molina has been. He has an overall record of 12 wins and just 1 loss on Beat the Champ. This is his 6th show. So keep that in mind. We never saw him in 2016. He made his debut early in 2017 at Kearns Avenue, rattled off 6 in a row. Then we skipped a month with him, and then we saw him last month at Lucky Lanes, 6 in a row. So those 12 wins have come in just 2 different bowling houses on 2 shows. So that is amazing in itself.
Well, as a college bowler, I think you've seen, you know, he's pretty recent out of college. We know his relationship with Canisius, and he revitalized that program. But the things that you see when you're college bowling and the competition that you have and the pressure that you're under, how you deal with it will affect, you know, your bowling career. And he is, like I mentioned in the Open, oblivious to what's going on around him. He's got a good attitude, he's upbeat, but very, very sure of himself. You know?
Yeah, and I think as everyone at home will watch Tyler, you don't see any emotion from him. You don't see any nerves. You just see a bowling machine.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge for Mike D'Amico, who's an outstanding bowler in his own right and off to a great start with strikes to open things up. I mentioned to you from Silver Creek, as Mike D'Amico works as a HVAC tech down there in the Silver Creek area, 35 years old. He has been bowling an awful long time, and he had that great qualifying score and has had an outstanding career himself. Bowls regularly a couple times during the week down in the Silver Creek, Fredonia, and Dunkirk area. But again, this is the first time we have seen him here on Beat the Champ.
Well, it's interesting that his 800 series has been 847, and it's been 5 times. So that just says when he starts striking, he can strike. That's a lot of strikes at an 847.
And that's what we're seeing already, as he has opened with 3 consecutive strikes to put the early pressure on Tyler Molina.
And such is the sport of bowling. The only reason Tyler's behind is because he left a 9-pin, which of course is one of the truer taps in bowling.
And there's the Tyler Molina blowing those pins away that we are used to seeing. The 6 wins in a row for Tyler Molina tie him with Mike Zarcone and Matt White for the longest winning streak here on Beat the Champ. We'll see Mike Zarcone in next week's show, by the way. And his 12 wins overall tie him with Mike Zarcone for the most in the show. And Mike did those 12 wins over the course of 5 or 6 appearances in a year and a half. Tyler's done it in just 2 different shows. So if he wins this match, he'll extend the winning streak to a new record, and he will take the top spot in the most wins. Mike D'Amico will have something to say about that, and clearly already has. And again, good pin action.
Little break
Tyler.
there on
Yep, another nice break.
On the trip 6, which is, he's actually getting the ball a little bit inside of his target on lane 5. We like to call pulling the ball just a hair. I mean, he's got the room, but he's hitting high flush, and that was the cause of the 9-pin in the second frame, and got a break there on the trip 6.
There's the Janelle Sabin manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, showing this one as super tight early on, and the strike run continues for Mike D'Amico. First 4, all pins down.
Well, so far both our bowlers haven't missed the pocket, so they're lined up, and they could go on all day like this.
All right, tell us about the lane conditions here. Tell us about the sort of reputation of Manor Lanes 2.
Well, we know this is a wood surface, so we've seen quite a few wood surfaces in our travels, and we know Tyler actually bowls well on a wood surface.
All of his wins have come on wood surfaces, Kearns Avenue and Lucky.
So we're in his wheelhouse for sure, although Mike is bowling awesome on it. What you tend to see on this is, when the lanes do break down, they'll break down lower in the front as opposed to down the lane, which you'll see on synthetics. But both these guys, won't have too much problem adjusting to that because they'll know what to expect. But this has been a very high scoring condition this week. I mean, the cut was high. Mike Mallett, who we'll see in a couple weeks, shot 804. That's no easy task. So, it's just a perfect scoring condition where the pins fly and, the 10 pins go down. Good scoring condition here.
Well,
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Hi, we're here today with returning champ Tyler Molina, here to take on a bunch of right-handers and also to break a record. What are you thinking today?
I'm thinking that I haven't bowled here in a while, but I've thrown some practice shots so far, and it's kind of what I remember. So just stay slow with my shots, and pins will do the rest, hopefully.
We know you like the wood lane condition. What's different? What do you like about wood lanes?
For a lefty, the lanes aren't going to break down as much. So wood lanes, a little bit of transition throughout a few games. So I think you might see that towards game 2 or 3 if I do make it that far. So just stay fast with your shots and hit the pocket.
Well, good luck today.
Thanks.
I'm here with Mike D'Amico. You were our high qualifier here at Manor 2. Did you like the lane condition?
I did. I love the pin action. I'm not used to that, so that was a nice thing to walk in and have.
Well, I see you're from Silver Creek. So what's your home house in Silver Creek?
K&L and Gowanda and Chicks in Angola.
So this is going to be a high scoring condition for you, I think.
Hopefully.
All right, well, you're taking out a powerhouse. He's got a record to beat, so, maybe there'll be a little nerves, but good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
so this one is, what a way to start things off here. Manor Lanes 2 here in Amherst, first of our 4-week stop here, and boy, you couldn't ask for a better way to get it going. And now it's the 10 pin that hangs for Tyler Molina, and normally not a big deal, but when the guy on the other side is perfect through 7 frames, every pin could be the difference in winning and losing.
Yeah, Tyler's been dancing with that little high flush there on 5. Ball's been hitting, little high up on the head pin for him, and didn't get the break on that one.
So spares in the 7th and 8th for Tyler Molina really opens the door. That's a phrase I use with you a lot, Sue, because you sense where matches are going. And the way Mike is bowling right now, back-to-back spares might be enough for him to come up with a win here, which taking nothing away from Mike would be an upset. You didn't like that right off the bat, did you?
That ball was definitely on the side of his target. Nothing we like to see more than making an oops and having it sit high flush. So he's got a lot of hold to his left, which he was happy to see right there, but that was not a shot that he was thrilled with, I'll tell you that. But he needed, the potential of Tyler's only 248, and I think Mike has this in hand as long as he stays clean.
He is perfect through 8 frames. Nice.
Better shot.
Easy stroke. Perfect through 9 frames. Coming off a 299 in the last game of qualifying. Mike D'Amico may be on his way to bettering that by 1 more pin. We'll discuss the significance of that in a moment.
Well, he's moving on to the next match, which was really his goal here, so he can just breathe and make his 3 shots.
So what a way to get things started. Good pin action again here for Tyler Molina, but what a way to start things off. If you and I sat here an hour ago and said, hey, how do you want to get things started? Oh, how about these 2 guys just go right down to the end here and one guy has a chance at a perfect game? That would be the way I might have said it to you jokingly. So the run, amazing as it is, of Tyler Molina is going to come to an end in maybe one of the biggest surprises we've ever had here on Beat the Champ.
Well, again, is it a matter of Mike? Not that Tyler's had any problem hitting the pocket because he hasn't, but Mike has a little confidence coming off bowling this past weekend, shooting 299, being the high qualifier, shooting 785 to.
Well, I only say surprise as it relates to Mike because A, this guy has been as hot as anybody has, and we haven't seen Mike. Mike is, not to take anything away from him, he's a new guy on this show. So, so that in itself, as far as the setup, says, boy, if you want me to handicap this one, you would have said Tyler's a big favorite in this.
Right, and even though you do have that great advantage of having that winning streak behind you and, coming to a new house as the champion, this is the obstacle of coming into, starting a new month in a new house, is the person coming in hasn't bowled there, and the person that you're bowling against has.
So Tyler finishes strong with 4 consecutive strikes, and he is going to put a very impressive score on the board of 248. But guess what? It is not going to be enough. So
again, to the scoring condition, it's really just conducive to what you're bowling on, not so much what the numbers are.
So here's Mike D'Amico, 10th frame. He's perfect up to this point, and he remains that way. We have not had...
Don't say it.
Okay. Sorry, Mike. Just doing my reporting skills here for the people at home. We've not had one of those on the show yet.
Okay, that was a little right of target, but he's got a really nice look out there. He's got a little bit of room to his right, he's got a little bit of room to his left, and all of us bowlers love to find that.
All right, so here it is. We have not seen one of these on Beat the Champ, but Mike D'Amico has a chance to be the first guy to do it. It's one of the most exciting moments in sports. It's one of the greatest accomplishments in all of sports. And here it is, Mike D'Amico's chance. He's got it. It's a 300 perfect game for Mike D'Amico. Wow, that was awesome. That was fantastic, and what a way to get things started here at Manor Lanes 2. Not only does he knock off the hottest bowler in Western New York, but he does it with a perfect game. That was fantastic.
That was amazing.
So what did you see? What jumped out at you about the way Mike just bowled here?
Well, he was cool as a cucumber, but he had the right ball. He was standing in the right place. He was lined up perfectly. Had a little bit of room. was a perfect setup.
That is really cool, and I don't care whether you're a big bowling fan or not, there's just something incredibly special about seeing a perfect game, and we just finally got one here on Beat the Champ. We'll get to see Mike try to do it again. He's got a next match coming up against Curtis Foss, but we're going to talk to Tyler Molina and get his take on the incredible run that he had. That's when we return to Manor Lanes 2 in Amherst. We're off to a great start here on Beat the Champ. Well, Tyler Molina's 248, not enough to win. You bowled really well, but what's it like to be on the other side when a guy is as hot and on fire and putting up a perfect game against you?
Well, I guess first it's weird to be on the other side, as you would call me the hottest guy in Western New York. But you know, you see me after the first few frames, threw a few good shots, and I left an 8-pin in the second frame, and I thought, you know, that could be it. The way he was throwing the ball, the pin carry he was getting, the way he's shooting the pins around. So it was. Just his day, and happy for him. Yeah, well, the way you've been bowling, it's not a surprise it might have taken a perfect game to beat you, but reflect a little bit back on these 2 6-game winning streak that you've had, and tell me, how good do you feel about the way you're bowling right now? Yeah, it's it's been over a few months, Kearns, and then last month at Lucky Lanes. So you just get in a groove, and it doesn't really matter what the other person's doing. You just kind of stay within yourself, make your good shots, and like you said, it didn't take much at Lucky, not the high scores that we saw some of the shots at Kearns, but it just doesn't matter if you're bowling a lefty, a righty, a two-hander. You just gotta make your own shots, and if you're in your zone, no one can beat you except for yourself. Right. Well, Jim Russo from here at Manor Lanes 2 has at least got something to make you feel a little better.
You got a little bit more to add to your bank account there, right. Tyler. You did a great job. Yeah, your wedding fund.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Easy now, Jim. And Jim, because we also had our first ever 300 game here on Beat the Champ, you've got a little extra bonus for Mike, too.
We wouldn't expect anything less here at Manor, too.
Of course not.
And we're going to be sending $200 Mike's way. So that'll start him off with a nice little bit of seed money.
Yes, it is.
And hopefully he can start a streak like Tyler.
Yeah, well, that streak will continue because Mike's got another match coming up. His opponent, Curtis Foss. That is next on Beat the Champ.
Hi, I'm here today with Curtis Foss. He'll be taking on the winner of the last match. Curtis, this has a special meaning for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is my first time making the Beat the Champ TV show, and my dad also made the Beat the Champ back when it originally had it in Buffalo before. So it's really cool because my dad passed away in October, so this has really special meaning for me.
Your dad was a big member of the bowling community. I know that I bowled with him, and I know that he meant a lot to all of us, so we wish you all the luck today.
Thank you.
Our first 300 game on Beat the Champ, Mike D'Amico is the guy who bowled that score. What's going through your mind that 10th frame?
Just hit my mark, get it close.
So you must have a little confidence. You had a big qualifying score, shot 299 in qualifying. You already had the match wrapped up. Did that make a difference to being able to relax and just throw those 3 shots?
A little bit. It helped.
Yeah. Are you excited?
I am very. Not the first time on TV, yes, or under the lights.
What number 300 for that?
17.
17th is his lucky number. 300 on Beat the Champ. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So here we go with our second match of the day as Mr. Perfect, Mike D'Amico, will take on Curtis Foss, another first-timer here on Beat the Champ. And just picking up right where he left off, there's yet another strike for Mike D'Amico.
So the big question here is, do you want to face the person that shot 300? Because there's always a little bit of a letdown after that. I mean, is it to your advantage to be that person? Or, we'll have to see how this plays out.
And Curtis Foss is an outstanding bowler in his own right, even though he is making his debut here on Beat the Champ. He's from Medina, 29 years old, but with a long history of success up in Niagara and Orleans County, and you're pretty familiar with Curtis as well, too.
Well, Curtis, I've seen him bowl at the Summer Sweeper. He came every single summer and bowled with his dad, and he's been a great bowler for a lot of years. He's not that old, so he started pretty young. And I bowled more with his dad. He was more my contemporary, and had a lot of bowling tournaments with Bob Foss, who also made the Beat the Champ show. So since Bob is no longer with us, this is kind of bittersweet for his son to have made the show, and he couldn't be here to see it.
Well, so now back to Mike, and as you said, I'm sure you bowled against people that have come off of 300s before, and how do you as the opponent handle that, and what do you expect out of that person? And there's the perfect streak coming to an end right there.
Well, you can only bowl your own game, but as a bowler, your experience tells you that after 300 there is a little bit of a letdown. So I think I would rather be that person, bowling somebody after 300.
Right.
But we're joined here by Tyler, who knows what it's like to have a 300 shot against him. Obviously, it just happened. What's going through your mind out there, Tyler?
Well, as I was saying during the interview after the match, after I made the shot, I tugged it a little bit on lane 5 in the second frame, and I thought, okay, the way he was throwing the ball over here compared to the practice pair, he's pretty locked in, and I thought, got to be perfect from here on out. Got a little fast with one, left a 7-pin in there, and the rest is history. So it was great for a guy coming first time on the show, starting off well, and I know that personally, so that's nice seeing someone else doing it. And if I'm going to lose, I guess it's 2 or 300.
Right, but you knew right off the get-go that, like you said, in the second frame, leaving that 9-pin could have cost you, because you saw how lined up he was, and the scoring condition out here, and you just came off a 785 bowling this weekend. Is there an advantage or disadvantage to you having not had to qualify and him actually being the high qualifier with such a high score? Do you think that plays into it at all?
Well, I think it's a matter of if you bowl the house much, and I haven't bowled here at Manor 2 since I think high school, so about 8 years ago. Which I know isn't that long, maybe, but so I got a lot of practice in. I was shooting pretty well in the practice pair, 11 and 12, but it was a little bit tighter on 5 and 6, and I think there's a few shots I got a little fast on, get the adrenaline pumping through you. But guys can always get out here and practice during the week or something if they can at the house.
That's true.
But it's nothing. It's not the same as if you're on the same condition bowling with those guys. Trying to see where they're playing as opposed to maybe just open bowlers compared to guys that are competitive.
And you were the only left-hander.
Yes.
So all houses have their characteristics. Where sometimes lefties just are able to score higher. And I don't know what the characteristics are, but you're coming in here as the lone left-hander.
Yeah. Well, it's also the case is that, I guess Mike just likes this pair because he shot 299 here on 5 and 6 on Sunday.
Oh, we didn't get the pair.
So on this pair, he won consecutive games, 299, 300. So, there must be something about this pair that he loves.
You made an interesting point that maybe got a little lost in all of the excitement of your first match was, Mike does this in his very first Beat the Champ appearance. You rattled off the first of 6 straight wins in your very first Beat the Champ appearance, which has sort of gone against the norm of generally, and if I ran the numbers, I could give you the stats, the first time Beat the Champ bowlers probably are hitting a 25% success rate. So how have you two guys been able to overcome that a little bit?
Well, I think the first part is, which Mike kind of mentioned to me after the match, is that you just got to get past the first ball jitter. So once you get that first ball, you throw it where you want it. Hopefully you start off with a strike, and it's a little smoother sailing from there. But he was able to do that the first, the second, through 12. So. Well,
here with Curtis, we saw a little chink in the armor here. His ball hooked up high on him. So, one of the characteristics of wood is that they will start to change, and they'll probably change a little bit faster than synthetic.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Well, we've got a 2-pin match here, so this is shaping up real interesting. And so you'll have a chance for that TV next month when you come bowl at Brad Angelo Lanes.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to bowling at Brad Angelo. I bowled there at one of the Greater Buffalo tournaments a few weeks ago and struggled a little bit, so looking to get back there and get back on the horse over there.
And before that comes up, I know you're excited for the upcoming start to one of the biggest bowling tournaments in Western New York. The Obenauer Masters will come up in a couple of weeks. Handicap your chances there. Can you keep your high level of bowling going into a tournament like that?
Well, you hope that you can, but usually the shot is a little more challenging. I believe it's at Kenmore Lanes this year, so it's the last few years that I bowled on, it's been on synthetic, so it'll be interesting to see how it breaks down.
Well, you're the wood bowler here,
that's true. So maybe that's right up my alley.
Is that something that you're aware of, Tyler? I mean, we talked about it. Your domination here on the show both come on wood lanes. Do you go into it thinking, what am I bowling on? And I'm pretty good on wood, and maybe got to be better on synthetic. I mean, is that something that a bowler thinks about when he's looking and assessing lane conditions?
I don't think it really factors into your results, but when you're playing the lane, it definitely factors in. Wood lane's going to break down a little bit quicker, so lefties actually have to move, which righties probably love that because they always give us lefties crap for that. So it's you approach it differently from that aspect, for sure.
Oh wow, that keeps this very close.
Yeah, Curtis could not get that 10 pin to
that
go
was a
down
big
here. So this one's tight.
Yep, 7 pins, Curtis is up. So anything can happen is how they finish the 10th frame. But he can still get up in the 10th frame and shut Mike out if he strikes out in the 10th.
Been there before.
One of the things to your advantage is you get through the front so clean. You have that great ball speed and that projection through the front of the lane, which is why he fares well on wood lanes, because the front is your obstacle, and he kind of neutralizes the front part of the lane with his speed and his direction. Because when you have a slower ball speed and you have to bowl on wood lanes, you have to open the lane up more, and that opens up corner pins and different angles. So you're able to keep your angle with your ball speed. So
the ball speed is usually to my advantage, and especially in that scenario that you just said. Whereas suppose you're moving deep, you're throwing the ball a little bit slower, and you're creating a much larger angle to the pocket.
Right.
So Curtis eyeing up the scoreboard here as we take care of a wayward pin here at Manor Lanes 2. But what's Curtis need here? What's this setting up? He's got the lead, as you mentioned, at the moment, but a narrow one.
He needs to double.
Gotcha.
2 strikes will
clinch it.
Will shut Mike out. Anything less, Mike has a chance to get up and strike out.
So let's see if Curtis Foss can end the brief but amazing run of Mike D'Amico here. A one and done with a 300 would be pretty amazing. But Curtis doesn't really care about that.
Great
and there's
shot.
One of the 2 that he needs. And as we mentioned, Curtis is really an outstanding long-time bowler here in Western New York. And as I mentioned to him before the match started, I said, well, I'm surprised it's taken us this long to see. He goes, I've been busy with a lot of things. I said, I get it. I understand. That's how it works. And at least he was able to get out here for qualifying and put that terrific 784 series up in order to grab the 2nd spot.
Big shot here for Curtis.
And that will clinch it. Curtis Foss needed the double. He gets the double, and he will advance on to our next match. So I'm telling you right off the bat, expect the unexpected here at Manor Lanes 2. There's your Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard that is going to show us, when the final scores are posted, that Curtis Foss is going to get his first Beat the Champ win. What a nice way to wrap it up, ending it with 3 consecutive strikes. Curtis Foss with a 234 final score on the board. What do we think Jim Russo threw some of that magic high-scoring lotion down on the lanes here today, or what?
I think these guys are just bowling great.
Yeah, and we've got really good ones too, So what a way to get things started. 2 matches in the books here, or just about to be in the books, and Red Hot Tyler ran into Red Hot Mike D'Amico, who puts the 300 on the board, and then Mike runs into an even hotter Curtis Foss, who comes up with the win here, and then we've got one more to go. So, but how much have you enjoyed overall the experience of being a part of this show? Have you started to get a little recognized in the bowling circles for what you've done?
Yeah, it's been kind of cool. I've had a lot of people that I didn't even know followed bowling will mention the show, so that speaks a lot to getting it started back up, and people that watched it. It still has the same name, so is that name recognition.
Well, thank you.
A lot of the bowlers.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us firsthand information.
Yeah, you've been a lot of fun to watch, Tyler. The analysis here today was great as well, too. So, final score on the board, 234 to 212 as Curtis Foss comes up with the win over Mike D'Amico. We'll talk to Mike and get you ready for our third and final match of Week 1 here at Manor Lanes 2 in Amherst. It's Beat the Champ. We're off to a great start. Stick around. Back right after this. Well, sort of bowling in a nutshell for you, Mike D'Amico. In 2 matches, you were outstanding and awesome in the 300, and then all of a sudden you run into a hot bowler and you can't get any better than a 212, and here you are standing next to me.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. A couple of solid 10s, a 2-8 that I pitched out, and it cost me.
Overall, I mean, to the experience, I got to think is going to be, it's memorable for us. I'm sure it'll be memorable for you. First time we get to see you here on the show, and you couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely be back.
Well, there you go. There's a name for everybody to keep an eye on. And as I told Mike, he will live on in Beat the Champ history with the first ever perfect game. Jim, make him feel a little better.
All right. Put this in there, and that'll drown your sorrows a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, thanks for a wonderful moment. And like I said, we'll never forget it. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Mike's moving on. Curtis has got another match coming. We'll get that one ready for you. We're at Manor Lanes 2 in Amherst. Third match of the day coming up next.
I'm here with longtime bowling partner, John Masiello. I know we bowled a lot together, so I know what you're capable of out here. What's your mindset going in today?
Well, striking, because obviously the scores were a little high, and the kids are good, and strike or go home.
Well, you're no slouch, John. I know you can take this on. What's your strategy to attack these lanes?
Of the lanes?
To attack the lanes. You're like, what's the condition here today that...
Yeah, okay. A little firmer and straighter for me, which is not my A game, but it was working, so we'll see what happens.
All right, well, you're a great bowler. I know you're going to do well. Good luck today.
Thanks.
Well, what could we possibly expect in our third match of the day here? We have had an amazing couple of matches already, and there's a familiar face. That's what we know we can expect. We've got a familiar face in John Masiello here for third match of the day as he takes on Curtis Foss. And John is a veteran here of Beat the Champ. This is his 4th different show appearance. Overall record of 2 wins and 2 losses. But we haven't seen him since, a little shy of a year up at Grand Island last year.
Yeah, we've seen a little breakdown in the lanes already in lane 5. Noticed the last match was starting to already start to hook a little bit. And, John kind of thought that he was going to be playing these lanes pretty straight. And as we can see from that shot, he's actually playing a lot deeper than I think he expected to play at this point.
Long time, very prominent name here in Western New York bowling. 61-year-old John Masiello spares out here in the first frame. We'll talk much more about John. I know you've known John for a long time, as has all the bowlers here in Western New York. But now we get again our first look of the third match of the day here for Curtis Foss from Medina. And it was a very impressive, solid 234 to 212 win for Curtis to beat Mike D'Amico that he ended on the 3 consecutive strikes in the 10th frame. And there's a good strike to start things off for Curtis Foss. Well, so we have our first match. The red-hot Tyler Molina on a 6-match winning streak loses, but he loses because Mike D'Amico throws a perfect game, 300, and then Mike comes back and follows that up. Not nearly as good, falls to Curtis, and now third match we've got Curtis and John. So we have had a little bit of everything here at Manor Lanes too.
Yeah, but some really, really strong bowling.
Yep.
And that was a little bit we talked about, with maybe a little bit of letdown after a 300 because your adrenaline gets going so high,
yeah. That way, right?
And then you lose a little bit of your ball speed because you've got that, chemical breakdown, and it's just so typical that you get that little bit of breakdown.
How rare is it, and I don't, not to put you on the spot here, but based on what you're saying to me, how often or how rarely does it happen where there's back-to-back really outstanding 300 games?
It's really funny that you say that, because Tyler, who sat with us for a little bit, had that experience after he made the show with Lucky Lanes and he was on his winning streak. He went and bowled at Lancaster and shot back-to-back 300s that day. And we just talked about it briefly, and for him, it was coming off bowling well on that condition and going through all the transition you'll go through in a day because he won so many matches, that he had all this confidence going, as well as all that changing, all that lane condition changing. When you go to some place that's a nice house shot and it maintains itself for 3 games, it almost seems easy to you after you've been on a difficult scoring condition. So that's the optimum way to shoot back-to-back 300s, is to be coming off. It's a whole slew of events that we have to lead into it.
Right.
But it does occur, and it did for him. He shot 856 and tied a record at Lancaster Lanes.
Wow. All right, so there you go. So it's not all that rare to happen, because there you go. You had a good example.
Well, it's rare.
I'm not saying it's not rare, but you were ready for me right there with a prime example of it. So here's the crafty veteran, John Masiello, with his first strike. It comes here in the 3rd frame. So we've got certainly a contrast in styles here between a big, powerful, high backswing bowler like Curtis Foss, and again, in all compliments, the crafty veteran in John Masiello.
And you're right, they are a little different in style. I mean, John has a lot less ball speed, and you'll see them actually approaching the lane the same way. They're both playing deep on the lane and looking to the right. Actually, Curtis does straighten it out a little bit there at the end, but
you can
Curtis
just
has a lot of
hear
ball
that
speed.
one.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the power in that one from Curtis Foss, who has opened now with 3 consecutive strikes. Mentioned his outstanding, there's your Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard as you get a look at Janelle Saban. I mentioned the outstanding history of Curtis's dad, Bob Foss Jr., up in the Medina and Genesee region area, and he and his son, he and Curtis, hold the scratch doubles high score that was set back in 2013 with a 1520. Dad had a 770 and Curtis had a 750.
That's just
Amazing.
incredible. Great shot.
And I think I mentioned already that Curtis holds the Genesee Region USBC record for high average with a 241. Meanwhile, John Masiello, appropriately on his bio sheet, when asked to list all his individual and team honors, he wrote a lot, and that couldn't have said it any better than I could have. I could rattle off 20 minutes worth of stuff for you there.
Yeah, John's experience is incredible.
All you need to know is a lot. And that's 2 consecutive strikes for him.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
8th frame, let's see if John can capitalize. And he'll do the same thing with the ring 10.
Well, sometimes as the lane conditions break down and we're talking about the heads a little bit, and you have to open it up a little bit and change your angle into the pocket. I mentioned that a little bit with Tyler, that when the ball goes more right to left and enters the pocket different, sometimes you start leaving these 10 pins.
Boy, he was skirting a little bit of doing the exact same thing that Curtis did, but John is able to grab the spare on the 10 pin. Is that a more difficult shot than it might look, as we've seen both guys struggle a little bit there?
To make a 10 pin?
Yeah.
No, it's very routine, but mentally it's a different story. He knew that was going to put him in a good spot. Actually, he needed that to stay. We got a tie match in the 7th frame, so that was a big spare for him. So, mental factors in a little bit all the time in this sport.
Right. So now John moves to the 9th frame here. He's trying to keep putting the pressure on.
That's right. He's still, Curtis can still, shut him out with that strike up and
Big strike in the 9th frame here to follow up that spare for John Masiello. So that is 6 of the last 7 strikes for Masiello. And now back to Curtis in the 9th frame.
We've had some great matches here today.
Outstanding. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better way to get a 1-month stop here at Manor Lanes 2 started with the 3 matches that we have had so far. And I think the interesting thing is, you know,
Great
I don't know. Big strike for Curtis. I don't know that we would have expected it with Tyler coming back on 6 in a row, facing 2 first-time Beat the Champ bowlers. Whether you might have said, oh, well, you know, first-timers don't do real well. There's a good chance Tyler's runs the streak to 8 in a row before he has to face the veteran like Masiello, and that's exactly what has not happened.
Well, we don't see, you know, John's from the Silver Creek area, so I'm sorry, Mike is from the Silver Creek area, so we don't get to see a lot of his bowling. I mean, so this was a new face for us, and obviously he's a great bowler.
Another big one for Curtis Foss. Boy, he has used a little of the negative energy from that open frame to power his way through the last 3. So once again, as he hits the 10th frame here, first strike in the 10th frame, he's had everything strikes except the open in the 7th. Second ball here in the 10th frame. Curtis Foss.
Strike here will shut John out. He did not like that at all. Definitely right of his target. That got away from him. And that's where his getting it straight through the fronts does negate the heads, but in this case, shooting it, he shot it right through his break point, and the ball didn't have time to recover, leaving the 2-8-10.
All right, so 2-8-10. What's the challenge here? This is a little unusual. We don't see this very often.
He's going to take the 2. He wants as many pins as he can get here. He probably would have rather had the 2, but.
So he only gets the 1, and he leaves himself again open here at the end of the 10th. So 252.
So John needs to double. No matter what, he needs to double here.
252 is the score on the board for Curtis Foss, and you just heard Sue say it. Here's what John needs in the 10th frame.
Ooh, inside. Trip 4.
Got it. You didn't like it. I don't think he did right off the bat.
Well, that was inside of what he was looking at, but he caught some oil, and he caught a trip 4, and such goes the game. One more.
So here you go. Game comes down to this. A strike for John Masiello. He wins. He'll advance to next week's show.
Strike and 7.
Strike and 7. And anything less than that sends Curtis Foss to a 2nd consecutive win and a trip to next week's show.
That was much better. Great
Got
shot.
it.
So it's actually 5 to tie, 6 to win here for him.
So we needed that double. He gets the double, and he'll need a few extra pins here, and we will get a victory for John Masiello. As I mentioned, he's had 2 already in his run here on Beat the Champ. Matter of fact, well, depending on how the things go here, next match for John, let's see if he wins this first, and then I'll tell you about it, because he'll have a chance at maybe a little revenge. 5 to tie, 6 to win. He got 9, and that will send John Masiello off into next week's show with a win over Curtis Foss. A 256 to 252 win. We'll talk to both guys and get you ready for next week's show. It's a win for John Masiello. Sue and I are back to Manor Lanes 2 right after this. great first week here at Manor Lanes 2 wraps up with a great match as John Masiello beats Curtis Foss 256 to 252. Not much you can do when it comes right down to the end like that.
Yeah, not much. I just got a little quick on that second shot in the 10th and left the opening for him and came right up and finished it off. So.
Pretty good way to get your Beat the Champ run started here, though, overall?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, good. Well, Curtis was a lot of fun to watch as we got our first look at him. Jim, there you go. Give him a little prize money.
That one-game format really makes it very difficult to sustain a streak. It's not like the old show where they used to have a 3-game match. So we've got like a revolving door of champions.
Yeah.
So
that's okay. We get to see more new, young, exciting faces like Curtis, and the old faces aren't so bad here either. Don't take that personal, John.
Truth. John, I know all that high roller and tournament experience really comes into play when you see an opening like you got today. What's in your mind when you approach that 10th frame?
Well, you got to get up there and make a good shot. Unfortunately for him, I got lucky. It wasn't a very good shot, and I struck, and then I threw the second one good.
Yeah.
He got a bad break on his 10-pin, so when you're bowling on this, you got to strike.
Well, you're going to keep that experience going next week.
We're going to give it a try.
All right.
Yeah, well, we've got some great bowlers in line for challengers to John, so that'll be next week's show. But Sue and I will come back to wrap up what was a pretty amazing first week here in Amherst. We're back on Beat the Champ right after this. Well, I don't know that we could have asked for a better start to our month-long stay here at Manor Lanes 2 in Amherst. What more could you have wanted? We get a 300, then we get the guy who bowls the 300 to get beat in the second match, and then that guy comes right down to the 10th frame. This week had everything, Sue.
It did, and it took us 17 months to get a 300. And, you know, we have great bowlers that show up here, and you know, I was kind of wondering if it was going to happen or not.
Yes, so was I. And there was an incredible buzz anytime that you get on the brink of a 300. Did you feel it over there too, Janelle?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, by that 6th and 7th frame, you're like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And, you know, the audience was small, but they were so excited, and it just makes everyone want to come out and watch this.
Yeah, what a great way to get things started. As Sue said, our first ever perfect game from Mike D'Amico, but we've got good bowlers still to come here at Manor Lanes 2. A great lineup next week, so make sure you're here to catch Beat the Champ from Manor Lanes 2 in Amherst.